to begin.
Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Social Primate Podcast. Today, we got the powerful Matt Sedillo. He is the literary director of the Mexican Cultural Institute of Los Angeles and the national coordinator for the World Poetry Movement of the United States. Dude, what is up?
Yeah, we're here, man. We're live.
You're joining us here on a rainy LA day.
Yeah, getting out of the flood.
With that being said, man, give me a little bit of background. I know we had the opportunity before, maybe back like in 2020 or something, to have a conversation along with Viva Padilla, and then once again, like between both of us later on that year. But it's been a hell of a ride from what I've seen on Instagram, the stuff that you've been posting, and I know you have a lot of updates for us.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how long ago I was here, but I mean, since then, I think last time I was here, Mowing Leaves of Grass had just come out, and so the success of that book has been pretty wild. I mean, it's taught now at like UC Berkeley. It's taught at Madison. It's taught really all over the world. I say that it seems surreal to even say that, but like I remember I had this opportunity to go speak at in Mexico City at UNAM Actilan, CESACH, Nacopan, and Casa de California. And so I was really excited to speak at those places. But you know, every time I kind of achieve something, I always want to. I get very. I'm the type of person that like I achieve a big success and I don't feel happy. I feel relieved.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I did it.
Yeah.
And now it's over. And now I feel sad. So now I need to do something else, right?
Yeah.
And so like I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get my book taught here at UNAM. And so we were doing this event out in the community at a cafe de Revolucion or something like this. It was near the Zocalo. And so this guy comes up to me and he tells me, he says, it's an honor to meet me, blah, 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 blah. And this trip was there with Luis Rodriguez. So I thought he was talking to Luis or someone behind me or something. And then he's like, no, I'm, like, it's an honor to meet you. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, I teach your book. I'm like, oh, well, where do you teach my book? And he's like, I teach it at UNAM, like the main campus. And so my book was already being taught at UNAM. And so I had this whole dream of like speaking like at UNAM. I mean, I got to speak at UNAM Actilan, but I want to speak at the main campus, right? And so that was my big dream. And so my book had actually beat me there,
Dude, that's crazy. Wild.
And so the next year I got to speak at UNAM, at the actual UNAM, and I was actually on Radio UNAM. And so like that all happened. So that was pretty exciting. But yeah, the last time we spoke, Mowing Leaves of Grass came out. And so that book has done really well. Also came out with City on Second Floor. That was the next book. And that book is done really, really well too. Maybe not as well as Mowing Leaves of Grass, but it's been in different spheres. And that one's taught actually in an American Studies class over in at the University of Napoli, as well as schools here too. Yeah. But like that one's actually taught in Italy. So that's both books have I love them both, but they're different from each other. Like Mowing Leaves of Grass more like a history book, with a lot of history jam packed in there. And City on Second Floor is a lot more like a sociological book, more like a Marxist geography, more like how the city and why the city is built against people, and it's kind of how the physical structure is set up to exploit people, So
and that's one of the things that from early on caught my attention, because a lot of your work, it speaks a lot about struggle, and political stuff. I've seen videos of you performing in front of a live audience, and the way that you engage, the way that you carry yourself, like you do the slow build up to the point where you're like being loud about it, and you can't help but just have to look around and actually pay attention to what you're saying. And, and when you start listening closely to what the content of the words that you're saying, you're like, holy fuck, it's full of references to historical moments, movements, and you can't help but to walk out of that segment just fucking educated.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's written that way. I design it that way. I go over it again and again and again. And even a lot of the information that I want to have in some of them, it doesn't match. It doesn't fit up. It doesn't line up rhythmically. Mm-hmm. So I have to take information out, but I don't want to just leave it anywhere. So I have to create a whole other piece for that. Do you know what I mean? I often tell people with this, the way I write. And there's so many different ways to write, but I write almost like I'm making a mannequin, right? And I can have sculpt some really great arms, but I can only sculpt 2 arms. I can't sculpt 3 arms because I'm making this mannequin. Mm-hmm. So let's say if I have 3 things that all function the same kind of way, I have to move one of these things and put it in a different poem. So that'll have that rhythm. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to be like, da, 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 da. It's feel like I'm lecturing you. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that the way it's written, it's so like that each part, each section of the poem, each stanza connects the next part like puzzle pieces. And so it rhythmically sounds good. There's a musicality to it. Mm-hmm. And if I have to, if I just feel like there's the content so good or the information so good, I'm like, well, I don't want to lose that. That just means I have to create another thing. I have to create another piece of music. I have to create another poem.
Yeah.
and that could be the center of it. But like, so this is everything you're talking about is not just doesn't just happen. It's a lot
It's
of
a process.
It's a process, not just process with the information, but a process with the rhythm, a process with the sculpting and the patterning.
You think there's like an outline that you use consistently throughout each piece that you do, or is it you know, use it loosely?
Yeah, no. There is there's like every time I'm brainstorming, there's a topic, details, point, act 1, act 2, act 3, and another thing I structure this is like a 4 square, which is 1, 2A, 2B, 3. So in 1 we have, you know, we introduce the hero. 2A, we introduce the villain. 2B, the villain's winning. 3, the hero wins. Now, most stories are told that way. And what that means rhythmically is different things, but 2B is really the low point, where it seems all hope is lost. There's no way we can go on. We're going to lose. So for anyone who else grew up in the 80s, this is like when Hulk Hogan's getting beat up, right? And then all of a sudden, Act 3 comes along, he starts shaking his head, and he's building back up, right? So that's how I write. I write in that kind of like that classic structure of like, we come in, we're highly energetic. There's all this like wonderful stuff. And then all of a sudden there's doubt. And then all of a sudden there's like extreme doubt. And then all of a sudden we return to our confidence and how we started. But Act 3, the resolution of what thing has to be tied back to the intro. We have to win for reasons that were already introduced. We can't win for new reasons that exist outside of the piece.
That takes from the message, I guess, right?
It takes from the message. Yeah, it takes from the message, and also just didn't feel real. It's like, and out of nowhere, and it's like, no, we won. So it starts off, we're beautiful, we're wonderful. Oh my God, we're getting fucked up. Oh no, we won because we're fucking beautiful. Right? So that's how that's how I do this. It always has to have some kind of return. So I always try to end the way I began, or end the way or end in a way that calls back to the transition from Act 1 to Act 2.
Now, for yourself, like, what was the key moment in your life that you got politicized to speak like very highly about these issues in your work?
I mean, so like, okay, so when I was a kid, I wanted to be president. I think I already told the story. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I kind of remember. Yeah,
I get so used to telling the story and I act like I act like it's like, well, I'll spontaneously respond. But anyways, okay, so I'll tell it again. Yeah. All right, so when I was a kid, I wanted to be president. You know, and my father. Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be president. Well, because my father taught me how to play chess, right? And then he never let me win. And then he would tell me afterwards, after like just beat my ass, being like, you know, like, now you're gonna have to get a job, right? One day you're gonna have to get a job. So he would like give me this horrible, humiliating defeat, and then be like, you have to get a job one day. And so I was like, all right, well, it's not going to be a tournament chess player. And then so anyways, so then I started, you know, like, well, one day I'm going to be the president because, you know, I could boss everyone around. And so I decided that's what I want to do with my life. And I learned the names and terms of all the presidents. And my mom took me to these high schools, and I would tell everyone where. And then one teacher tried to trip me up one time, and I knew the answer, and I knew it was a trick question. I'm like, that's a trick question. The answer's Grover Cleveland. And he told me what year you're born. I'll tell you who was president. So even then, as a kid, I knew how to handle a heckler, right?
Yeah.
I just on my face, I knew how to handle hecklers. And so anyways, but then I was 7. My dad says, you can't be president. We're Mexican. And I was like, oh, no. I was born in Monterey Park. I don't know what you're talking about. You know,
I totally get that.
That's not what I meant. And I was like, oh, shit. And so, but so that was, you know, that was really kind of those seeds of like, well, if I can't be president, why I want to do this? So then I always wanted to be an artist, right? But then because I wanted to be an artist, didn't write politically. I wanted to be an artist that made like really weird, abstract, you know, I wanted to write, you know, I wanted to be a writer, director, or a filmmaker or something like this, but I wanted to create art that was for art's sake, and I wanted to create things that were not political propaganda. I had this weird, pretentious thing. I'm like 11 years old. I'm the most pretentious 11-year-old. And living in El Sereno and Maywood at the time. So, like, you know,
dude.
Yeah, my mom's side's El Sereno, my dad's in Maywood. They had joint custody. So I'm like that, like the most pretentious kid.
Hey, you had fucking goals though.
I had goals.
I was 11 and I was like, fucking, I want the new Digimon game.
Well, at 5, I wanted to be president. So I mean, like, you know, my goals kind of dipped. Actually, they've been dipping ever since. Anyway, so these are my goals as a kid, and then I had to, you know, eventually, I had to start, you know, I grew up and I had this idea of this novel that I wanted to write, and I was working on it for a long time. But, you know, then I grew up, I had to get a job, and like my dad said,
fucking reality of fucking growing up.
And then, so I ended up working retail for many years. And so, you know, here I was, you know, very pretentious, very like, had this big dreams and whatever of what I should be. And I'm just like, getting so bitter with everyone around me because I feel like I have so much to say.
Yeah.
And here I am folding shirts, and nothing's wrong with doing that, but like, with the fact of the matter is, I felt that like I had, where, and the truth of the matter also is that there are, potential opera singers in the backs of kitchens, and there are people who can like,
Right.
There's Picasso's, working behind a cashier register at a gas station. I mean, there's the success in the art world is all about connections and networking and doing all these type of skills like that, as well as having talent. And so there's so many people who are so incredibly talented, who don't actually get their artwork into the world. So it's not that my feelings of like I was born for so much more is not to degrade anyone who's working. It's actually to point out that and it's not even unique. There are millions of people feeling trapped in the daily grind,
Right.
Who have so much art inside of them, and I was one of them, and I was very, very bitter, very, very angry, and so then I went to go work for my father for a little bit, managed a thing, and me and him fell out again, because we're always getting fights, always getting upset, and I found myself in a really bad situation, and here I am, all my life told how smart I am, and here I am in a really bad situation. What am I going to do with my life? So I started going to the library a lot, and I started reading all these books. I read these books about political economy, and I read all this Marxist type text, right? And I started reading this old text about how you organize, right? And I read this thing that said, like, in order to organize, you must be the most ardent worker. You must, must show that you're not a complainer, that you're actually a hard worker, and that you were fighting for it. So I go back, and I'm working at Lowe's at the time, and I'm in the garden section or something, and I'm like throwing things over my shoulder. I'm running, I'm scrambling, I'm moving, and busting ass as hard as I can. And everyone there fucking hates me. Right, because it's like I look like kiss ass. I don't look like I'm
the
like
guy
the
doing
most
extra
hard
work.
worker. I'm working hard for no reason, and now the management, the management loves me. They hate me, and I'm like, fuck this. I'm going home. I'm going back to LA, Dallas. And so I come back, and then I'm working in retail again, and then I make some new friends. But now I'm politicized, right? Because now I want to put away my dreams of being a bourgeois artist and be a serious organizer of the proletariat, right? And so I make a friend, and he was organizing at USC. This guy Dave Romero, right? And he was organizing at USC to get them to stop using sweatshops. And so we go to a May Day rally. I know mostly politically, and then afterwards we go to this open mic, and that's when I first saw spoken word poetry. And I heard it, and it was like knowing when you can like hearing a voice on the radio and knowing you can imitate it. I knew I could do this style of art. I knew exactly how they did it. I knew exactly what the patterns were. I know exactly like how to okay, here's you introduce a concept, you do this, you move it around a little bit, you have a twist, you have a change, like, oh, but wait, you're like, oh my God. And then you have like, no, and I will done it, and this is my mother, my father, and I never got a chance. I knew how to escalate, I knew how to do all those things, like put my own little touches on it. And so I was like committed to coming back and doing it more and more. And so that's the story. The story of my life, of how I got politicized was really just my own personal experiences. Mm-hmm. But I got more politicized by fighting the good fight. So the boy who would be president became the angsty teenager who wanted to make arts for art's sake, who became the man who some say is the best political poet in America.
Hey man, I fucking agree on that shit. Because I think when you take the time to educate yourself and go out of your way, right? You went to the library. How many people do we know that I know, I would say, I'm sure you know plenty of people, but that I know that actually go to the library to go out of the way to get books to educate themselves consistently,
Yeah.
Very limited,
Right.
I don't even have a fucking library card. So it's like, when are you taking the time to actually do this stuff? So of course you were in certain circumstances that led you to choose whether you wanted to go one route or the other, and you chose to educate yourself. When you did, that just added it to that anger that you had, right? But you used that anger rather than in a violent, non-productive way. You chose to say, you know what? I can use this anger and help voice the anger that I'm feeling and the community is, feeling at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And absolutely educate yourself.
Yeah.
And especially if the drive in you is to educate yourself,
Right.
When you have that drive, that spark, but that you can inspire others, and others you can be inspired, to do that. I mean, I think that's it. But you can't wait for someone to be like consistently inspiring you. You have to once inspired, you have to be your own inspiration.
Yes, exactly.
To keep pushing yourself. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. I mean, there's people you think about, there's all these people that want, get advanced degrees, but they don't they're not constantly surrounding themselves. Not all. I mean, many do, but they're not always like constantly surrounding themselves in the stuff they studied in college. In the same way that most of us go through high school, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember how to do trigonometry. I don't remember how to do. I don't remember do the subjects I didn't care about. You know, I don't surround myself with that stuff. So similarly, you know, the college isn't much different. You know what I mean? So like, I think that, I think that people, you have to have the hunger inside you, and it has to just
that's key.
And you have to keep the hunger inside. You have to keep the flame burning. You know, and so I personally always want to be a lifelong learner. But that's what motivated me towards this like working class stuff. That we're, you know, the rich and the poor, and let's fight and this. I got motivated more to a lot of the Chicano stuff that I'm kind of a little more known for now. Later. And that was really more with the Trump years. And it wasn't that I was ever not like Chicano. It's not that I was never not, or it was never that I was not like, you know, didn't tolerate racism. It was never that I didn't. It was never that I didn't have a connection to roots or something like this. It was just that was not the point of emphasis, you know. But during the rise of Trump, I saw someone put out a very explicitly anti-Mexican message. And I saw all the people around me, all these like Reds, all these people that were like, you know, fighting for the proletariat, saying that wasn't important. That what was important was to maintain a working class unity. That what was important was to understand the pain of people who Trump's message spoke to understand the pain of the Midwest white worker, to understand the pain of the Rust Belt, to understand why they were hurting, and to show them that they had a class interest outside of what, you know, this racist message that was being put. And I was like, fuck that, you know, fuck that, and fuck you for saying it, right? You know, this guy's saying Mexico's sending drug dealers and rapists. If you don't take that seriously, then like, you know, you don't take like my potential safety seriously. Fuck you, right? And so that's how I had a falling out with a lot of people by taking a hardline stance, and that's how I kind of bridged more into more of the Chicano movement. And not that I was ever apart from distinct from it, but that's what really made me put like kind of all my eggs in that basket, because I saw just how prevalent anti-Mexican rhetoric was to, you know, current day fascism. I mean, and it really is. I mean, people will say all kinds of things and have all kinds of analysis, but facts are facts. If you look at the way in which Donald Trump, who is the leading figure of American fascism today and has been for, you know, a while, has been for like almost a decade now, the key platform here is our border politics. And, you know, so it's anti-Mexican, anti-Central American. These are the primary talking points that he has. Now, he has stuff about Muslim bans. He has stuff, he's generally speaking, deeply sexist, you know, anti-black, all those things. But if you look at what he always goes back to, if you look at how the crescendos of his hate rallies back in the day, it always was build a wall, Mexico will pay. That was the high point. And so when I see that happening, people not taking it seriously, it became my mission in life to educate myself more than I already was, and then also to create dynamic art to express that. And so that's kind of where things stand today.
Yeah, for sure. Like anybody listening here, you know, wherever they stand, you know, we're either people are gonna be applauding us right now, or they're gonna be like, hey, fuck both of these guys, you know? So one or the other, especially now, you know, because it's a fucking election year first and foremost. So, you know, things are usually gonna get, you know, funnier from here. So the idea is, you know, I think this is important to say, because I didn't really become self-aware, air quotes self-aware, till I was in the fucking, you know, 2010s, you know, late 2010s is when I graduated high school. So my reality has been like, I'm just a brown kid. I live in a fucking brown community. I don't experience racism. Racism's gone. You know, there's none of that going on. However, once you start reading, right, you start fucking finding out of the movements that have been happening over the last fucking 60, 80 years and shit. You're like, wait a second, I've been painted this way for so long. Even before, you know, there was fucking signs that says no Mexicans, no dogs. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? You know, and it's something that we forget because we're not seeing it, you know, and it's not until you start digging deep and you're like, wait a second, this shit actually existed. You know, people were getting fucking lynched during the gold rush in front of fucking mines to kind of scare people off. And they were usually Mexican people. And, you know, just one of a lot of fucking things that have happened. But it's easy for us to forget that happened because it's not in front of us. We're not looking into it. And then when you have somebody like, again, you're setting up for a message that when taken out of context in any form, you're like, dude, this is targeting specific people.
Yeah.
You know, you're categorizing them and you're putting them in a box. And now everybody who fits in this box, you're gonna fucking lash out at them.
Right, and like you or I or whoever, you know, the average, you know, person living in Southern California, of you know, Mexican descent, compared to like on the world scale, you know, you could say that, well, we're not really that impoverished. We're, you know, if you compare it to like, you know, people who like, you know, children in the mines, so, you know, in Africa, or somebody starving in Afghanistan, or people starving in Mexico, or you know, whatever, or even you know, people, unhoused people here in Los Angeles. You could say like, okay, well, it's not that bad, so that, but the conditions that we find ourselves relative to the general population, relative to whatever, those things are, there's a direct tie between that and what you're talking about, the lynching of Mexicans in the 1840s and the 1850s and 1860s. There's a whole reason why we're not taught our own history. There's a reason why we're not taught that history, and then it's tied to this kind of erasure of this message that we don't have ability to fight back. And so really what has to happen is we need to raise the demand, and in the raising of the demand, we're going to get attacked, we're going to get targeted, people are going to be like angry that we're even bringing it up, you know, and it's going to come from a lot of our own people. We're like, you know, why are you talking about that? You really should be talking about this, or you really should talk about this, or you really should talk about this. And well, you know, like your analysis says this, but I think it's lacking in this. And to the point where you can't even get to anything. The whole point to the idea that, you know, and you know, and the reality is that it's not just that we need to learn this. Everybody needs to learn this. The oppression of Mexicans is a fundamental part of the development of the United States. This whole area that we live in is built off the backs of like the Bracero program, of like these things. It doesn't happen without the exploitation, the super exploitation of Mexican labor. It just doesn't. I mean, if you look at the time period in which Phoenix, in which Los Angeles, in which San Diego, in which all these cities become bigger and grow into major mega cities, this is between the periods of 1930 and 1960. Like, this is all the backs of Mexican labor, right? So this is all during that time period. And so if we don't really know that. And with like the oppression of Mexicans in the United States, the oppression of Chicanos in the United States is fundamental to the way of the development of law. Because the resistance is fundamental to the development of law. Who do you think Mendez was? I mean, not Mendez. Who do you think Miranda was? What kind of name is Miranda?
Yeah.
Ernesto Miranda. Miranda versus Arizona. Yep. You have the right to remain an attorney. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. That comes from a case against a Mexican guy, Ernesto Miranda. I mean, what comes the legal precedent to Miranda?
Yeah.
Is Escobedo versus Illinois. That's Danny Escobedo.
You know, I never even thought about that.
What kind of name is Escobedo? Right? So 1964, Danny Escobedo, 1966, Ernesto Miranda. Both these things come from that history. The legal struggle against these things come from that history. So the right to remain silent, which applies to everybody, comes from that particular history, that specific history. The phrase, the thin blue line. You see the blue lives, the blue line flags, but that comes from that blue line through the American flag, that fascist symbol, right? That phrase, the thin blue line, comes from William Parker, but in a show that he developed called The Thin Blue Line, in which he would explain why the LAPD was doing whatever they're doing at the time. Well, that show came out following Bloody Christmas, and Bloody Christmas was this night where when they rounded up all these Mexicans, they all got drunk and they all went down. They all, you know, like 60 drunk police officers went down and beat up like about 11 Mexicanos and locked us up. Yeah. That was called Bloody Christmas, and because of Bloody Christmas, Parker developed the thin blue line. So this concept of the thin blue line also comes from, you know, the history of the oppression of Mexicans.
That's exactly what I mean. Like, you're talking about these things, and I'm just like,
people don't know these things.
Yeah, for sure, I don't know these things, and maybe it's just like, you know, again, I don't take the time to go and fucking read all these books. But again, there was a point that you said right now about like the information. Like, sometimes you want to bring out these topics, you want to have these conversations on specific things, issues that do need to get addressed. Yeah. But then you have another person or another group coming in and saying like, well, you're not talking about this, so we shouldn't talk about your thing because you're not talking about this either. And it's like, bro, we gotta take a time to talk about every issue for sure, but we can't just try to combine everything at once. Like, sometimes you just gotta focus on one problem first before you start trying to bring everything.
I honestly think people like that need to leave the room. No, I'm serious, man. They leave the room. Leave, because this is this. Mm-hmm. I don't go to McDonald's and try to order a pizza.
Yeah, right.
I'm straight up. Like, this is what it said. This is what the door said. This is what this is what the flyer said. This is what I'm gonna talk about.
Yeah.
Straight up.
For sure.
There's the door.
You're getting the information straight up. Like, hey, this is what we're gonna fucking talk about. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. We're not gonna go in there like you said and just start asking for like, hey, well, we fucking gotta talk about fucking how to make donuts.
That's what people do. People walk in, to a burger joint and try to order a hot dog, and people do it all the time. And that's what they do politically. I mean, politically, that's what people do. They walk into something and say about this, and they demand to be about something else. People do it all the time, and it's not unique to the Mexican question. Right? I mean, people do that all the time with all kinds of stuff. People, be this. We're gonna do something about an environment, and somebody walks in and just starts like, talking about, like, well, the bank foreclosed on my house. Like, like very important, but that's not what,
Yeah, no, but again, it's about taking the time to if you want to talk about it, make your own fucking thing too. Let's make a fucking your own thing and be like, make it about that specific issue,
Right.
And then let's get those people there.
Yeah.
And again, at that point you can build progress rather than just everybody screaming at each other, or to the point where everybody else just walking in gets disconnected immediately because they're like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Just drama.
Yeah, it's drama.
I'm bouncing, and then you don't get nobody's message out.
Right. And but I think that's the point. I think that in many ways they're trying to play defense or something like that. But like yeah, man, I don't know. I don't worry about Twittarians, and people who just live on the internet. I don't worry about trolls. I mean, like, it is what it is. Yeah. But like, it's funny to me. I mean, a lot of people just make up this like they're just like word salad specialists. They just say these things that don't have any like bearing. They don't have any cohesion. They just like they jump like centuries. They don't really like they don't have like a timeline, or like a factual timeline, or dates or stats or this. It's just all just these like word games,
the word game.
But I don't.
Yeah, no, I totally.
I want to talk about how great I am. I don't want to talk about how weak they are.
Well, I did want to talk about like right now, right? So you've seen a progression in your work, right?
Yes.
Like in the evolution of it. Like, where do you see yourself like diving into right now?
Well, I mean, this year, I got a wild schedule this year. This year, I'm gonna be in Mexico. I'm gonna be at the University of Guadalajara. Then I'm gonna be at UNAM. And then after that, I'll come back, and then I'm gonna go to speak in Italy, and so I'm gonna be actually in. First, I'm gonna be in Ravenna, and then be part of the Dante's Laurel presentation. So 2 years ago, I won the Dante's Laurel. So I won this. Dante's tomb was presented by these monks. They put a laurel on my head. Yeah. And this year they're gonna give it to a guy named John Fosse. So I'm gonna be part there. And John Fosse just won the Nobel last year, so I'm gonna be a part of this ceremony. With a Nobel Prize winner, yeah.
Oh, damn, bro.
And then after that, I go to Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and I'm gonna do some readings out there. Then after that, as part of some theater group, and after that, I'm going back to Italy to be part of Pesaro 24. Every year, Italy selects a city to fund for some cultural whatever, and so I'm gonna be part of that. I'll be kind of like one of the major nights, like highlighting. I think they're calling it contemporary American poetry. Yeah, it's really. Dude. It's really interesting. Every time in Europe, they always want to ask me about the beats. It's kind of funny. Like they like like.
What do you mean like the beats?
The beat poets like Allen Ginsberg and like Jack Kerouac and stuff like that. So they always want to ask me about beat poets, beat writers like that. And so cause they think of me as like a beat. And it's just very strange. Which is like, let's go with it, whatever. So then that's Pesaro. And after that, I'm going to Hungary. I'm going to be in Hungary. I'm going to be at the University of Szeged, which is the second largest after Budapest. I'm going to be speaking at an American Studies conference there, where a lot of my work has been translated to Hungarian. So they're going to be doing,
dude,
they're going to do a big thing on me. And then after that, I'm going to Serbia, and then I come home. But then after that, I go to, I think, Cuba. I think Cuba's next. Yeah, then I go to Cuba. I'm going to speak at Casa de Americas. After that, I was invited to the Medellin Poetry Festival in Colombia, so I'll be in Bogota. Then after that, I'm working on some stuff in Chile. We're still kind of in the works. And after that, I go back to Mexico.
And this is all this year?
It's all this year.
That's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
At the end of it, you're going to walk out of it like, you're going to feel like you had a psychedelic trip. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, well, last year I was in Mexico, I was in Italy. I did a 9-city tour of Italy because my book had got published. So my book got translated to Italian, and I have an Italian publisher, and they brought me out there, and I did a 9-city tour of Italy. I got to read Venice at an international poetry festival. I got to read, so anyways, yeah.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I got to read last year I read the Guadalajara Book Fair, which is the largest book fair. It was first or second largest book fair in the world.
You went there to read a part of your book. Oh damn!
Yeah,
Sick. Dude, that's fucking beautiful, man.
It's
It's
surreal.
beautiful to hear,
You
dude.
know,
That
yeah. No, it's weird. I'm more accomplished than I am famous, so it's like, because I have trouble getting press because no one wants to write about me, 'cause, you know, an asshole or whatever. But like, no. I have trouble getting press for some reason. But like, yeah, no, I'm actually, you know, it's weird to even talk about. But yeah, I've read it. I've read it at the Guadalajara Book Fair, which is like,
how does that make you feel, man? Like just, I mean, first of all, you gotta prepare for it. How long is the longest
I'm gonna
stay?
be gone in Europe. I'm gonna be gone for a whole month. So I mean, I'm gonna be in Italy for a few days, like 3 or 4 days. Then
Oh, okay. So
the
a couple of
Netherlands
days
for
in each place.
No, I'm gonna be Netherlands 4 days. Then I go back to Italy. I'm there for like 7 days, and then I go to Hungary, and I'm there for 12 days. I think that's what it is. And then I'm in Serbia for 2 days, and then I come home. So that's kind of
That's nuts, man.
That is nuts,
dude. No, that's why it trips me out, because I mean, you've had your share of fucking moments, you know, in your life where you're like, fuck, you know, like you don't know whether you should keep doing it. I'm pretty sure, you know.
Yeah.
At some point, you're like, nah, fuck, what are you doing? Like, get your head out of the gutter and just focus.
Yeah.
And now you're just fucking traveling, dude. You know, just doing your work.
Yeah, no, it's really great. It's really great. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I think that's I don't know. It's kind of surreal to talk about. It's kind of strange. Like for many years, I felt like I didn't get the credit I deserved or something like this. Because like, it's like you said, like the work's so layered and whatever. And so I just like, yeah, man, I worked really hard on this, and I did all these things, and people were like, yeah, he's great, but like, you know. But nothing. I'm just like, yeah, he's great. It's like, no, man, I'm like really good. Like I'm really like, no, it's a different level. And now I feel like it's being recognized, and
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
so, you got to do the work. You know, you got to do the work, and you know, sometimes it's easy to forget that when you're in the struggle, you sometimes you don't see a light. You're just like, fuck. You're just rock bottom, and that's all you can focus on. Nothing seems like it's going your way.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just takes that little like thing to connect you, like, you know, that hunger, right? Like we go back to that hunger thing, that drive, that you don't want to be in that situation, and then you either choose something that's gonna fucking fulfill you, or something that's just gonna continue you in that same cycle. And a lot of the times it's easier just to focus on that cycle because we have a lot of escapes, you know. We fucking porn, fucking alcohol, drugs, whatever the fuck it is, you know. We all have our fucking vice, but regardless, like, you know, do you focus on that, or do you fucking step away from that too and focus on your shit and get it done?
Yeah, no, I'm such a workaholic. I mean, I work. I'm always like thinking about it, and I don't even know. I enjoy it though. I enjoy working. I enjoy the process. I enjoy doing things. I love having a beginning, a middle, and an end. You start something, you work on it, you finish it. You start something, you work on it, you finish it. And I think I don't really know if I enjoy necessarily the fruits of my labor as much as I enjoy the labor itself. In fact, the fruits of my labor sometimes makes me a little discomforted. I feel like a little bit like after I accomplish something, I just feel just very like, well, what next? I mean, I always have that what next. I have the what next really fast. I mean, everybody experiences what next, but I experience what next in like 30 seconds. You know,
like, fine, that's
it's not like, you know.
Yeah, because that's a very,
you know,
it can be very.
Spend like a week or just like this blissful like state of like, I can't believe I did it. I'm always just like immediately like, what's next? So, and so I need that's something I need to work on in life. I need to really enjoy. I need to enjoy my life more. I mean,
dude, you're gonna be traveling. I mean, what will you do on a regular night? Like once you're done, you're just gonna go out. I'm assuming, right? Go out about, just exploring shit.
I mean, it depends. If there's networking to be done, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking about like, I'm having such a great time here. I'm like, how do I get back?
Yeah.
And how do I get somewhere else? Right. So like, if I'm in the Netherlands, I'm thinking like, how do I get to Belgium?
Yeah.
You know, how do I get to Portugal? How do I get to, you know, like, I'm always like, how do I, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm not really into like, you know, this is great. I'm always like, how do I?
Yeah. Okay.
How do I get more stuff? So I mean, yeah. But like at times, I mean, when I went to Mexico, it was a little different, right? So in Mexico, it's really interesting. First time I went to Mexico City to do work, I think I spent most of the time connecting to something, you know, almost like spiritual, something before, something ancient, you know. And I got to go to Tepito, and I walked, you know, where Cuauhtemoc was captured, and where he was tried, you know. And there's two, you know, there's two, what do you call it, plaques to recognize that, right? And one's on a church. And so you think about the, what is that, the symbolism of that? That's on a Catholic church. And here's where they captured Cuauhtémoc. It's kind of like, it's unsettling, right? And I remember sitting there and feeling this, like, this feeling that I couldn't really explain. And it felt like really like this deep pain in my heart, this deep recognition of something, this deep whatever, and then also just the anger that it was on the church. And I almost felt like I was going to cry, right? Mm-hmm. Then went to go see the second plaque, and that plaque is on an auto body shop. Right.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Well,
oh my God, we went from emotional right now.
Yeah. It's Mexicans, we're not gonna like let space go to waste, right? So like, there's a plaque, but also we gotta fix these cars, and I couldn't cry there, so so I had to let it go. So I was like, oh, what the hell? And so that was my first experience there. It was always all this connecting to the pre-Columbian past, all this connection to this deeper, like, this deeper indigenous root. That was my first experience in Mexico City. My second experience was like, no, I want to see the real Mexico. I want not the real Mexico, but I want to see the modern Mexico City. I want to see the Mexico City that people that's similar to Paris. That people from all over, the Western Hemisphere came to. There was an intellectual hub in the 20th century. It's still today, but I mean that was where heroes like Fidel Castro came here, and Che Guevara they met here in Mexico City, and Gabriel Garcia Marquez, he lived here for a while, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I want to see all that, so I went to Cafe Havana, and I went to these other places because I'd gone to Rome, and I got to go walk where Pasolini had walked, and I got to go to the cafes where Pasolini was. And so I'm like, well, I needed to have that kind of experience in Mexico City. I can't just be doing this. I can't be like treating this like this ancient thing, and then like go to Rome and like fuck the Colosseum. I want to go where Pasolini was. No, I gotta do the same thing in Mexico City. And so I'm doing that. So I go to the Cafe Havana. It's great. Here's all the stuff, all the history there. You can feel it. And then I went to see some other stuff. Like, I think we went to buy where Octavio Paz used to drink, and all the difference of that. And then finally it was like, okay, we're gonna find Gabriel Garcia Marquez's house, right? Nice. And it's supposed to be like a museum, but you get there and it's not. It's just a street with rich people, and some rich guy bought his house, and everywhere you walk, the cameras are pointing at you like this. And so I'm like, it's time to get the fuck out of here, because in Mexico City, you don't want to be anywhere where it's too poor, and you don't want to be anywhere where it's too rich, because like either way, something's gonna happen, right? You want to stay in the middle, because like it's if you're in like a rich neighborhood and they feel like you don't belong there, it can go bad quick, right? Especially if you're walking around like a tourist, like I think this is the house. You're like pointing at things. Yeah, so I'm like, and I kind of like, all right, let's get the hell out of here, So we kind of got out there, and it actually puts you right next to the UNAM campus, so that's there. So it's cool.
Nice. Okay.
But anyways, so that was my experience in Mexico City most recently.
Was his house like still like the OG house, or was it fucking modernized?
I don't know. It was nice. I mean, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that's even if the map thing was correct. I mean, who knows? I mean, it just looked like
random neighborhood.
It just looked like we were in a rich neighborhood. That's all it looked like. It's like, oh.
Nah, that's cool. But again, you still walk out of that. At the end of the year, you're gonna walk out with like the whole experience of like, you went fucking around the fucking globe.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, like that was pretty deep. I mean, Venice was amazing. So I got to read at an International Poetry Festival in Venice. And Venice is interesting because there are parts of Venice that look faker than like the Venetian in Las Vegas.
No fucking way.
Now there are parts of Venice that are so touristy, they look cheesier than Las Vegas making fun of Venice, or Las Vegas trying to look like Venice. There are parts of Venice that are cornier than the corny imitation of Venice, right? Because it's so just built for tourists. And so you get there and you're like, what the fuck? This is awful, right? And then like you see these guys just singing exaggerated accents of like 3 or 4 Italian songs we all know, like "Oh Sole Mia," it's like really exaggerated, the gondoliers and stuff. What the hell? And then you walk a few different blocks, and then you're in real Venice. You're in like the real ancient. You can feel the history of that place. You can feel the real and so it's just, that was a pretty powerful experience, just walking around and just and I walked all the way to the edge, and I started just thinking about whatever. And so it was funny because I started just thinking about the people that, like, this is how I am though. I'm like, I turned into this negative thing. I was like, I think about all the people hate me, and I'm like, take this, here I'm in Venice, you can just see me now. And so I wrote in a poem, I was like, who walked to the edge of Venice, contemplating only haters, thinking of the villain in every story is a hero in another, thinking of the hero of every story is a villain in another.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, but so Venice was amazing. Mexico City was amazing. Cuba, I mean, when I got to go to Havana, that was an incredible trip. That was when we talked.
Yeah.
Maybe you just got back from Havana.
That's what 2019 you guys went or something?
It was 2019, right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right before the pandemic. So that was the last hurrah. And so like when the pandemic kind of ended and the world kind of opened back up, that's when all my travel, my real international travel really began. And so I kind of had this mentality that like, oh yeah, like I'm blowing up. But then if I'm honest with myself, I was about to blow up, and the pandemic fucked me up.
Yeah,
fucked up a lot of people. I'm not saying like I alone suffered. No, I mean we all had the same bad year.
Yeah,
right?
but that's when everybody has to take a step back and just fucking recollect.
Because the year before I was in Havana, I think the year before that, not too long before I was in Havana, I was at Cambridge.
Oh fuck. Okay, yeah. So you already started getting that.
Yeah, I was already. Yeah, so I was at the University of Cambridge, then Havana, the Casa de las Americas, and then the world stopped where, and then the world opened back up, and there I was back again. Like at UNAM, this, that, the other. So like I feel like I think I was hitting my stride just before the pandemic hit, and then into the pandemic I did some projects and they were cool, and now things are just things are going well, man. Things are going really, really well. Things are going really well, and I'm very happy, and I'm very lucky, and I'm very fortunate, and I'm very grateful to all my collaborators and friends and people that have made things possible. I mentioned earlier, you asked me about my origin story, how I got started. I mentioned earlier David Romero. David Romero is actually a really good friend of mine, great poet. He's traveled to like 34 states. He's also traveled internationally, and he actually, me and him co-founded a press, El Martillo Press.
Oh, so is that your guys'?
Yeah, this is my head.
Oh, fuck, no way.
I own the press, and me and him we're co-owners. And so, we founded a press together, and that's been going great. We published some people, and,
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, we published Donato Martinez, Cesar K. Avalar, Paul Flores, Flaminia Cruciani from Italy, Margaret Alicia Garcia, wrote The Darland, great book, Cesar Avalar, Paul Flores. And so, I encourage you to check out elmartillo.com, check out all our great authors. Very, very proud of them. We wanted to found a press that was very much, we wanted a press that kind of people wrote and had kind of like working class values. We wanted a press of people that we felt at one point or another in life, had to either work the cash register or push the broom. That was kind of our mentality.
It goes back to the conversation that you said that sometimes, in just the most basic jobs that you walk yourself into, as a person walking into an establishment, right, to be a fucking consumer. You just assume that these people's roles are just their fucking roles in this location, but little do you know, like when you find out, like, oh yeah, I do fucking DJ overnight or something,
photographer,
photographer or something. You're like, oh damn, this guy knows the struggle of balancing the creative aspect of his life and the fucking just
it's 9 to 5.
It's 9 to 5, and I think that's normally how it goes, because obviously you need a form of income to kind of support your fucking stuff.
All right.
But one thing that I like that you did was that you created the space, like maybe the space wasn't there, or maybe it wasn't in the way that you were kind of, envisioning, but you went ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to make it, and I'm going to find people that are similar.
Well, yeah. So El Martillo Press, is becoming an outgrowth of Flower Song Press, which is out of Texas. So that's Edward Villare. And so Edward, he did Flower Song Press. He's great inspiration to us. I mean, he published so many people. He's about to publish his 100th book. So, very, very proud of Edward. I think I was like his 3rd or 4th Mowing Leaves of Grass. So that tells you, like, that came out in 2019. Yeah. And so it tells you that in like just that time period, in like about 5 years, he has published like 100 books. Damn. He's averaging like 20 a year. Yeah. So Edward does it at a different level than we're doing it. But we intend to publish like all things go right, like 10 a year. So we're not quite 10, not quite 20, but 10, which is still much more than most people. So so that's what we're doing.
That's cool. Yeah, because I mean, I know like there's like services like on like Amazon where you like send your stuff out and they do publishing and stuff, but like it doesn't beat having supporting a fucking local group or an organization around you that's actually trying to
right.
Provide a message.
So we ended up getting our authors readings at Book Soup, at Tia Chucha's, at the Village Well, Arvorita. We got them one. We got them 2 up north. One at the Beast Crawl. We also got them reading at Lickquake. So we got our readers a lot of readings, probably about 15 aware. And Amazon, whatever, is not going to do that for you.
Exactly.
They're not going to get on the phone for you. University presses oftentimes won't do that for you. I know someone who got published by the University of Chicago, and the University of Chicago got mad at them for actually trying to market the book. No, I'm serious. It was horrible. They tried to like, they were trying to get their book reviewed, and they were sending it places, and they were doing it like just basically, hey, here's my book. I'd like you to check it out, blah blah blah. And the people that run the newspaper contacted University of Chicago Press, and they were like, hey, don't ever, da 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 da. And so then they ended up chastising him. So it's like, well, not only are we not going to do the work for you, we're also.
Hey, I mean, fucking Amazon's not gonna do that shit. But again, it goes back to the thing. When you build the connections, it's important because that's gonna get you pretty far. You have to collaborate. You have to be open to discussion with people, and just even if you're not in the right or in the same grounds, at least be open to like, hey, I can provide this for you, and you become available, and growth comes out of that.
Absolutely.
Dude, that's fucking cool. I mean, again, the whole martillo, like, what was the idea behind that? Like, you guys just needed to have more power, or you want to empower more people? Or...
Well, no. So we were working with Flower Song. We were working with Edward. So we both got published with Flower Song, and we had kind of a special relationship with Edward that we were trying to help him build up the West Coast wing. And so, I made some suggestions to different authors he should publish, and there were a lot of them were people who were interested, and he told me some people he was interested in. I kind of talked to them. I talked up Flower Song to them. This is when he was just getting started. Now he can ever get on the phone, call anybody, because the brand is built up and people love it. So, but this was when it was just building up, and so I was kind of like his little kind of West Coast rep, right? And so that was like how it kind of started. But at the end of the day, we wanted certain people published, and Edward had this guy's publishing 100 people a year. 120 people a year. He's got this backlog, this huge backlog.
Exactly.
And so we're like, all right, well, we'll do like a little imprint, and then it was kind of like, well, we'll do, and it was like, you know what, we're going to do our own thing. And so we ended up doing our own thing, and that's how El Martillo got started. But I bring this up, and I don't mean any of this negative in a negative way. No, I love Edward. But it was just, it came out of the growing pains of wanting to start something that was kind of a part of Flower Song or a subsidiary of it, because I really wanted to synergize that energy. So it just becoming not wieldy, just not right, didn't quite fit right. So we did our own thing, but we're still great friends.
Yeah,
of Flower Song Press, and we still are very much I don't know, like sibling presses, I guess. Or we're very much we support them, they support us. And,
yeah, no, I mean, that's good. Sometimes you gotta outgrow things, and it's fine to do that too.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily outgrow, but just go separate ways sometimes. Fuck, it always sounds negative, but it's not negative.
It always sounds negative.
But no, I get what you're saying. Sometimes you just gotta expand in separate ways.
Yeah, you gotta expand. Yeah, the only way to expand is where it's just it didn't fit with it forever, and
at that point, I mean, again, you're just helping kind of fill a void that maybe that place wasn't necessarily covering, and now you have that, and then you guys share like this relationship, and again, it just becomes a symbiotic thing where everything's like fucking flowing and helping each other. So
absolutely,
like, that's what matters. That's how fucking things work out. But to be honest, I'm a little too high fucking right now, man.
All right. Well.
I just noticed a few minutes ago. I was like, "Fuck, bro, my mouth is dry as fuck." It's okay, but. Going back to your stuff. No, seriously though. So the latest stuff that you released, I know you've been doing a lot of. I saw more videos on YouTube, and I saw one of the poets that are like, or the poems that really like fucking got me feeling riled up was The Devil.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a little bit of background on that.
The Devil. Well, I wrote The Devil because I wanted to write. I don't know where that idea came from, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna write this, and then this is kind of when the 3-act structure kind of started coming. I'm like, all right, so first part, the devil's gonna be a salesman. Second part, the devil's gonna be like a politician the politician. And the last part, the devil's gonna be like a mega church, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like how I knew the structuring was gonna happen. So I just started doing research. What I'm gonna put here? What I'm gonna put there? 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 And I started figuring out like that. So as far as it's I heard it say I was sucker born every minute, and it starts talking about it started talking about just like Exxon and Chevron and Coke or Pepsi, Adidas or Nike, Ford or Chevy, a Mac or PC, a college education, reverse mortgage, you knee deep in the blood of the Congolese. So it's talking about all this like business stuff, and then the next part starts out I'm a Washington lobbyist, I am Fred Thompson, Jack Abramoff, Dick Cheney, you best pay me, I'm the reason why you can't fight City Hall, but I can buy office for people with justice. I am not, so that was the part where there was about the law and politicians. The last part was I'm a businessman. The poor you shall always have. I am what Caesar takes. even with whether or not you're willing to give it, I am I am motherfucking devil,
Dude, and you fucking the way you build up to it honestly reminds me of like a fucking metal song.
Yeah.
Like it starts off slow with the fucking riffs and it starts building up, and then you're just basically like, I think there was a video, I think, who was it, Elephant on YouTube or something, one of those. You were doing the devil.
Yeah, Elefante, yeah.
Elefante, there we go.
Yeah.
Dude, that shit was fucking powerful.
Yeah, so so it builds up into crescendo, right? And so like that all comes from the way it's written. It's not just that I'm just doing it while I'm saying it.
Yeah.
I write so that it comes off like rising action, So like, it's like, I am the motherfucking devil and I run this shit. The fuck you gonna do about it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was in. So if you look at the other poems, like even the ones that are historical where I'm not playing a villain, it's like, like from it goes like, from those Republic Christopher Columbus all the way down to Donald fucking Trump. We didn't cross the borders crossed us. Who are you calling immigrant? Pilgrim, right? So it always has that kind of that big climax, and then like some like little like sarcastic comment, some little shitty comment, like
yeah. But I love how you fucking ended. Like again, you use Ryza and it just kind of just kind of like drops, and it's like, dude, that's some powerful shit.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's fucking beautiful. For people to find more about your work,
you can go to elmartillo.com. I have to update my own website, so like don't go there. Go to elmartillo.com. You can find out more about me. Go to look about the mcila.org. Find out more about the Mexican Cultural Institute of Los Angeles. You can find me on my socials and stuff like that. I'm coming out with a new book this year called Mexican Style, so be on the lookout for that. Do I have time for one poem?
Yeah, go for it, dude.
All right, so this is a poem from upcoming Mexican Style. A Chicano poet sits at a desk and attempts to pen an anthem, a classic, a grand sweeping epic of economics, demographics, the fear of a brown nation on a bronze continent. The motive engine, the beating heart of the Mexican question, Chicano condition, that's someone lost in a land of confusion, American neurosis and Hispanic serving institution. Chicano poet sits at a desk and attempts to dive into ink, into parchment, open letter. An honest ledger of wins and losses, martyrs and marches, the mothers of East Los Angeles, crusades for justice, justice for janitors, the Justice 8, Los Siete de la Raza, the Boulder 6, the Vasquez Rocks, the Silver Dollar. Chicano poet sits at a desk and attempts. A ranchero, vaquero, bandito, Goro Blanco, Bracero, Pachuco, Brown Beret, Inmate, Cholo, Vato, Loco, Pocho, No Sabo, Kid, son and heir to all I have seen, but taught to forget the crimes they commit, that omit from the text. I changed the law when they stole the land. I taught our kids they held no claim, took too much space, that I changed their names. They come a long way to nowhere. I saw a Chicano poet sit at a desk and attempt a hope, a dream, a prayer. May I spend my days and nights scouring the archives of a lost tribe that took every thread of history and culture they could find and called it home. May I carry the move in my heart, wear my heart on my sleeve, and enshrine our heroes in these poems. Acorona, Acuna, Dianuca, Caesar, Dolores, Gomez, Quiñones, The Plan, de Santa Barbara, San Diego, Catalina, La Tierra, Amaria, Tejarina, Alorista, LRU, UDPCS, OATM, a rifle and a press, a pen and a sword. It's like Flores, Daniel Gangi, Flores, Magón. It's like 500 years and 500 more. Batito, Cortino, Jovito, Modesta, Morena, Barrera, Cabrera, Ayala, Carrasco, Cardona, Muñoz, Muniz, Ruiz, La Raza, La Crónica, Regeneración, It's Luche, Asigue, Asitli, Rodriguez. I return to the court. I Corky, I walk in and I look the same, and I feel the same, and I've survived centuries of genocide and war, race politicians, right-wing militias, pseudo-intellectual academics calling our good name into question, a movimiento estudiantil, a Chicano, that's land, and I shall endure.
Dude. Thank you for doing that on the podcast. I fucking appreciate that.
Thank you, yeah.
Do we get a little bit more time, Mirage? Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I would love to talk a little bit about that in the new book. Dude, what the fuck? I mean, tell me a little bit about this poem. I mean,
it's called I Chicano, and what I wanted to do was, I wanted to write a poem, basically, that was kind of like, in conversation with the poem I'm Joaquin, right, written by Corky Gonzalez. And so I Am Joaquin is like this 15-minute long poem where he talks about the history of Mexico, and he talks about the history of Chicanos, and he talks about all this like long, all this wide sweeping history. So I wanted to like write that in like a shorter period. So, but I also want to do it in this kind of weird meta way, right? Because I want to do this like almost being John Malkovich kind of way. So it's a Chicano poet sits at a desk and attempts to pen an anthem, a classic, a grand sweeping epic of economics, demographics, the fear of a brown nation on a bronze continent. So these are all phrases taken from different parts. And so am I the Chicano poet, or am I telling the story of a Chicano poet? Am I telling the story of Corky Gonzalez? Who is the narrator of this, right? So that's kind of like, that's the first part. So as I tell you that Chicano poet's sitting doing this, and then I proceed to try and do that, right? And so then like the next part, a mode of engine, the beating heart of the Mexican West Chicano condition, also a loss in a land of confusion, American neurosis, and Hispanic serving institutions. So land of confusion and American neurosis are actually taken from the poem I Am Joaquin. And so it's a reference to I Am Joaquin. And then the next part of the poem, it lists out these like historic struggles. So it talks about the mothers of East Los Angeles. It talks about the Crusades for Justice. It talks about Justice for Genders, the Justice 8, which is currently on right now.
Yes.
Los Siete de la Raza, which took place back in the 70s. The Boulder 6, the people who were killed fighting for ethnic studies in Boulder. The Vasquez Rocks, where they captured Vasquez, and the Silver Dollar, where they killed Ruben Salazar. So these are martyrs and marches. Yeah. And so it's a whole list of martyrs and marches. And then it says like, Chicano poet sits at a desk and attempts Ay ranchero, vaquero, bandito, Gorro Blanco. So the Gorro Blancos were the original people that kind of fought against against the wave of American invaders, right? So or again after the Mexican-American War. And so that, takes you the history of like what happens after the Mexican-American War. It goes from being ay ranchero, vaquero, bandito, like being demonized, Gorro Blanco, bracero, Pachuco. So it goes from being the landowner to like we're being pro-terrorist, right? Bracero, Pachuco, brown beret, inmate. So I'm taking you like from that to now to criminalization.
Yeah.
So I'm taking you to like the Chicano generation, but I'm also taking the mass incarceration generation. So brown beret, inmate, cholo, vato loco, pocho, no sabo kid. So pocho means like, I'm disconnected from Welsh culture. No sabo kid means the same thing, right? Yeah. So pocho no sabo kid, son and heir to all I've seen but been taught to forget. And then so it talks about the history. And then it moves into like, my goals. Like, may I write a hope, a dream, a prayer. May I spend my nights scouring the archives, of a lost tribe, meaning like people always saying that Chicanos have no culture, this or that, or you're just putting together these little pieces of this and this, little threads, and you're sewing together something that's not, you're just making it up, right? Yeah. It's like well, yeah, you get disconnected, right? So we're creating something something powerful enough to resist, to resist this thing, to whatever. So and it's taking pride in that fact. And so, see, I have a thread of history called Culture They Could Find and called it home. May I carry the movement of my heart where my heart must leave and shrine our heroes in these poems. And then I started listing out all these heroes. Because a lot of these people I see attacking Chicano studies, they don't know any history. They don't know anything. Right. And so, like, listing out all these different people, all these different things, or all these different things you can look into. Bert Corona, Rudy Acuna. Then I went on to talk about Emma Tenayuca. These are all, like, academics and organizers and field organizers, Cesar Dolores, obviously, Gomez Quinones, he was instrumental in so many things, Juan Gomez Quinones, and so then just the list goes on. It goes on and on throughout the poems. These are all names of people who actually do things, and then who've made important contributions. Yeah, and that's
dude. The fucking vaquero line, that shit is fucking hard, dude.
Yeah,
dude, and it's fucked up because I mean, that is where we stand, and when you say the whole no sabo kid at the end, it's like, dude, that is reality, because unless we take responsibility to teach the fucking youth, the kids that we're starting to raise ourselves as parents, people creating families, that culture is going to be washed out.
Well, the culture is going to be washed out, but see, it's not just about the culture, it's about the history. Yeah. And the history explains the current conditions. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's a reason why, Montebello is not as rich as Santa Monica. There's a reason why El Monte is not as rich as or is not rich like Pacific Palisades. There's a reason why our communities are filled. There's a reason why we're working for them. Mm-hmm. And those reasons are tied back to ranchero, vaquero, Gorro Blanco. But the reasons why we find ourselves in the positions we find ourselves in is tied back to the history, that history. And so we need to know that history so that we don't just look around and just blame ourselves. We don't blame ourselves for substandard education. We don't blame ourselves for having jobs where we're getting our stolen wages. We don't blame ourselves for having to take for basically our positions here. We don't blame the community as a whole for the fact that we have such high incarceration rates. We don't blame, the community as a whole because we're getting shot by the police. We don't blame, you know what I'm saying? Because if you don't know that history, if you don't know that long line of oppression, you just think that the world is the way it is because it's the way it is.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna think. So this whole, fact that that so many of us know Sabo is a very big problem. And so we gotta really, and that was a joke. I know it's no Sabo kind of. So don't think like, aha, he is it.
Like, got him. Yeah. Nah, but no, dude, that shit was. So is this something you've been working on for the new book specifically?
The new book is so, Mowing Leaves of Grass was definitely a Chicano studies book, but I think that this book, Mexican Style, is much more about. It's much more about Chicano identity than the last one was. The other one's about like history and fighting back. This one is really about a lot of people reaching to something to identify with, right?
Yeah.
To find themselves. So that poem is there, but then there's a poem in here called Bandolier, and it's about it's like a Dia de los Muertos poem where people are talking about a family member that fought in the Mexican Revolution, and they're trying to reconnect to that because her brother's been shot by the police. And she's trying to reconnect, find strength in the Mexican Revolution, But obviously that happened like over 100 years ago, and that's you're living here. But they're trying to find strength in that. Another one's about a pair of friends who they grow up in LA, and with all the conditions and problems and whatever, and they bond over the Mexican golden age in cinema. So there's all these just different examples of people trying to connect to something. There's another one about a tagger who takes on the name Tenemes, meaning you will live, you will travel, and he tags up this train, so he may never see the whole country, but his art will.
Fuck.
And so that becomes this whole story about him, but he connects to this indigenous past in order to connect to something, in order to not be nothing, which is what this country will tell us what we are. And so that's what the book Mexican Style is all about.
Dude, that's powerful, man. That's I've mentioned this a lot for the last fucking podcast, but that's something I've been looking through myself, like the identity, like just reconnecting to parts of my fucking background, and it's like, and that's something that I feel like a lot of us are going through, especially again, we start hearing on the fucking news, you start seeing like this thing again with the whole, it's gonna happen every fucking election year, the border stuff going on, like immigration, like they're trying to get their votes, but nonetheless, you still see that they're still using that as fucking a pawn in the fucking game. It's like, dude, you're using lives at stake. You're using people as just fucking things for your plaything.
Yeah,
so,
it's disgusting.
But when does the book come out?
Should be out May 5th.
May 5th. Okay, cool. So we got plenty of time to help fucking push that. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I mean, if you said to people, if they want to find you said the website or on Instagram, you said?
You can find me on Instagram. My name is Matt Sedillo, MatTsedillo. And I assume there's going to be a thumbnail for this clip, right? Will. So I'm the Matt Sedillo that looks like me.
All right, sounds perfect.
Yeah.
All right, well, dude, thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
To wake up. It's time to wake up. Let's get it. Look, a visionary and a living legend. I work with both crews, our first impressions. The best you never heard, only here to apply pressure. The microphone my weapon, no tech up on my dresser. I'm with a dime with no cam in my hand, just the AC I'm blast, I call it the only fan. Cause social media now is so embarrassing. Put a stock in bullshit and following false narratives. And me, I give you truth in real life, face to face shit, delivered in real time. Cause many messages you receive be misleading, taken out of context, shallow, no deepin'. My company flow incorporated for the teaching, a prequel to the villain on some KMD shit. Gotta read between the lines, Jedi mind basics. Rhyme saying, causing ruckus, talent never wasted. Hey yo, we back outside till the worlds collide. Can't hide behind the screen, it'll ruin your eyes. It's time to wake up, try to get a moment to climb to a higher level. In the end, the rebel survives. Yo, we back outside till the worlds collide. Can't hide behind the screen, it'll ruin your eyes. It's time to wake up, trying to get a moment to climb to a higher level. In the end, the rebel survives. Yeah, another day, another dollar, that's a regular view. But get distracted or distorted when you turn on the news. A clear channel non-existent when you following fools. Either you get it or missed it, how you applying the tools. I got to encrypt it like hieroglyphics with good intentions, but born with a soul of mischief. Riding solo up Mob Deep, we stay gifted. Pull up to the function, row one and stay lifted. Tomorrow never guaranteed. You're feeling more conflicted when you're looking at your feed. Why you think they call it the black mirror? The second that you look in the way, you see clearer. So don't believe the lies caught up in the picture. The silicone you inherit just makes you die quicker. That's why me and Damon only bring the authentic, independent contractors, killing the frauds in. Hey yo, we back outside till the worlds collide. Can't hide behind the screen, it'll ruin your eyes. It's time to wake up, try to get a moment to climb to a higher level. In the end, the rebel survives. Yo, we back outside till the worlds collide. Can't hide behind the screen, it'll ruin your eyes. It's time to wake up, trying to get a moment to climb to a higher level. In the end, the rebel survives.